Can someone do the adhan, please? Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله. Brothers, please step forward to make space. It's sunnah to be closer to the first row and to the Imam on Friday especially. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. بسم الله. Throughout the past few weeks we spoke about a few difficult things. We spoke about tests and how difficult they are. And then we spoke about that we need to have a good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we have a very poor opinion of how Allah deals with us when it comes to tests. So we need a plan. When we have that intent to have a good opinion of Allah, the first thing we need to do is dua, is calling upon Allah. Now, some people say, no, we need to start with prayer. No, we need to start with sadaqah. We need to start with zakah. We need to start with good manners. Yeah, you can start with anything you want, but if you don't have dua, you have nothing. Now, dua has a few meanings. In the Arabic language, dua can mean either worship, the seeking of aid, a request, a call to someone, praising someone, speaking with someone, or questioning someone, either in a good way or in a positive way. Either or. But generally, the general meaning of the word dua, if you recognize from all of the common denominator of all the things I just mentioned, is just to have a conversation. Now, the problem we have is we speak to everyone and anyone about everything and anything. But we don't speak to Allah about some things, or even one thing. And there's a reason behind this, because we've done everything to learn about phones, computers, cars. Even when we want to get married, we'll do the best we can to know everything about our spouse, but yet we know nothing about the reality of Allah. You know, when we ask ourselves that question, I'm afraid that Allah, will punish me because of this, because I didn't do that. I wish I had done this all my life and maybe Allah will be more happy with me than He is now. Yeah, well, you don't understand. He's Ahkam al-Hakimeen. There's a reason why He didn't give you that knowledge when you were younger so you can practice it, and now you're where you are now so you can make tawbah. He knows that you're going to come at this state. He's like, yeah, but why does Allah punish people this way? Oh, He's so harsh. Well, you don't understand. He is, Arham al-Rahimin, at the same time, Huwa Shadid al-Iqab. He's very harsh in His punishment, and He has hikmah behind that. If you knew all of His names, it seems that you worship a Lord with maybe one or two characteristics. You worship a Rahim God, you worship a Shadid God, a Jabbar God, but you don't worship the God that has 99 names. وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. And to Allah are the most perfect and excellent of all names. Now, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبْ أَنْ يَسْأَلْ أَحَدَكُمْ شِلْسٍ عَالِهِ وَمِلْحِ طَعَامِهِ Allah loves that you ask Him the soles of your shoes and the salt of your food. To that extent, He wants you to have a connection with Him. Ask Him about anything. Don't say, silly, I'm not going to ask Him about this. You ask Him about anything and everything. There is a balance between being a person that is that is a taker in dua and a person who really loves Allah. The scholars say the essence of dua, there are two types of people when it comes to dua. There's dua al-maslaha and there's dua al-ibadah. Basically, there's dua where you just want to take, you want to gain, and there's dua of worship. And the true essence of worship is actually to love. Think about it for a second. When you love somebody very much or something very much, whether you realize it or not, whether you notice or not, in some way, you are worshiping that thing. You will stay up, you will miss things that you like, you will deteriorate your own health, you will spend money, you will lose loved ones, you will miss out on things that you like for that person, that thing, that event, that band, that whatever. In some way you are worshiping it. And that is the essence of love. It's a kind of worship. And so the scholars say we need to have a balance between worshiping Allah and asking of things. Because there are some people who say, no, I'm going to worship Allah. I'm not going to ask for anything. I don't need to ask. Allah will give me if He wants to, He won't give me. This is wrong. And some people will say, I'll ask Him for things, but I don't really need to establish a connection. He's God. He's too up there, I'm too down here. And this is very dangerous. If you look at all of the prophets in the Quran, all of them, they all have a very healthy balance. They ask for things, and they also ask to establish a very strong connection with Allah, and they praise Him because they love Him. Musa, alayhi salam, Sayyidina Musa, in Surah Taha, when he was about to go to Pharaoh, he said, قال رب أعوذ من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Expand my chest, make my matters easy, untie the knots in my tongue, so that they can understand what I'm saying. He just asked for gains. وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِ هَارُونَ أَخِي. And make for me a governor of my own family, Aaron, my brother. Right? Why? كَيْ نُسَبِّحُكَ كَثِيرًا. So we can glorify you, a most wondrous glorification. وَنَذْكُرُكَ كَثِيرًا. And so we can remember you, a such wondrous remembrance. إِنَّكَ كُنْتَ بِنَا بَصِيرًا. You've always been there watching us. I remember you've always been there with me when they kicked me out and they took me out of the river. My mother threw me in the river because you told her to throw me in the river. You've always been there. And because of this, I'm asking you for these things so that I can serve you. It's not because I want to be strong in the land. إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَى فِي الْأَرْضِ. Fir'aun was high in the land. I don't want to be like him. I just want to serve you. So help me with these things. Same thing when you start to ask and you have a relationship with Allah, the things you ask for, you ask just because you want to worship Allah properly. You say, Allah, help me have a better salary. Help me, have a good family. Help me live in a country that's better for me than the country I'm in now. What if Allah doesn't give it to you? Then you'll know He's not giving to you for a few reasons that we'll mention. But the essence of it is you will be content. Because you know that you asked Him for the best way to worship Him because you love Him the most and He is the most wise, so He knows what you need and what you don't need. The perspective changes when you have both things in your mind, that you worship Allah and you ask Him at the same time. Your perspective becomes extremely different. The importance of dua is so much such that you can worship Allah, you can do all your nusuk, you can pray, you can fast, but you have this arrogance in you that you don't want to establish a relationship with Him. Not because you think Allah is not worthy, but you just don't want to get to know Him. Allah does not like people who don't like to have a conversation with Him. Allah says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. Your Lord said, call upon me and I will respond to you. Indeed, those who are too arrogant to serve me or to worship me, they will go into hell with complete humiliation. So you can align the idea where if you don't worship Allah through dua, through speaking to Him, through calling out to Him, you are in a very dangerous position. Dua is a constant conversation that never ends throughout the day. We think that when we make dua, we're making it because we want certain things. Again, it's not like that. When things go right throughout your day, you say, Alhamdulillah, alladhi bina'matihi tatimmu as-salihat. When things go well, thank God for which good things are completed by Him. When things go bad, Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. Thank God for all the cases we're in. You go into the bathroom, there's a dua. You leave the bathroom, there's a dua. You go up the stairs, you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You go down the stairs, there's a dua. You eat, there's a dua. You stop eating, there's a dua. You go to the bathroom, there's a dua. You let out all the dirty things inside you, and you say a dua. They say in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about Sayyidina Nuh, إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا, he was a most thankful servant, that Allah said that because whenever he would go to the bathroom, he would say, Alhamdulillah الذي رزقني لذته وثبت في جسمي قوته وصرف عني أذاه. Thank God He gave me this food. He gave me the sweetness of its taste in my mouth. He gave me the strength of it in my body. And He took out all the filth of it from my body. So Allah, because of that dua, going to the bathroom, Allah called them abdan shakura, a most thankful servant. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي لكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. Before everything, we say Bismillah. And after everything, we always say Istighfar. So you don't get we say Astaghfirullah after every single thing you do. This is like a general dua. So you don't think that any good you did is because of you, or anything you had power over was because of you, it's because of Allah. And you do that Istighfar to make sure you purify yourself. You're in constant conversation with Allah. You're asking Him all the time just to be there with you throughout the day. And Allah is near. This is something we're not able to comprehend, but when we are close to Him, especially when we're fasting and during the times we're away from people sometimes, we really feel His closeness. When the Prophet ﷺ was with the Sahaba and they were going to Ghazwat Uhud, so they were trying to, work themselves up before they reached the war. So some of them were saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They were screaming. And the Prophet said, Arba'u ala anfusikum. Calm yourselves down. Be gentle with your nafs. إنكم لا تدعون أصم ولا غائبا إنكم تدعون سميعا قريبا. You're not calling on somebody who's deaf. And you're not calling on somebody who's absent. You're calling on somebody who is all hearing and He's very near. So make dua, but don't scream. This is just to show you. But it's not wrong, by the way, when you're going out for a good cause and you're going to fight and you might lose your life for it, for the right cause. It's not wrong to do that, but you just wanted to teach them that He is near. Now, the beauty of having a relationship with Allah, with dua, Allah gave us the formula. He doesn't say you need to make dua. He doesn't give us a formula. Obviously, we make dua all the time. But one of the main formulas He gave us is in Surah At-Tur, the mountain of Tur. He said, وَأَقْبَلَ بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. In the afterlife, some of them, the Ahl al-Jannah, will ask each other, قَالُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا مِن قَبْلُ فِي أَهْلِنَا مُشْفِقِينَ. In our tribes, we had very difficult times. فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَوَقَانَا عَذَابَ السُّمُومِ. But Allah gave us of His favor, and He took us away of all punishment. Because we were patient within our people, within our families. We were the odd ones out. We were the ones with deen. We were the ones who brought back the sunnah when nobody wanted to. Why? Why did He give us all of this? Why did He help us? إِنَّا كُنَّا مِن قَبْلِ نَدْعُوهُ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْبَرُّ الرَّحِيمُ. Because we used to make dua to Him before. He is al-Barr al-Rahim. The word bar and bir are the same thing. They're the same root word. You always hear bir al-walidain, to be very good to excellent to your parents. The word bir comes from bar. Bar is the horizon. When you look at the horizon, you never see a start line and an end line. The horizon is endless. So the word bir means you're so excellent to your parents, there's no start and end to how good you are to them. So when you see the word bir in the Quran, that's what it means. It's so excellent, you can't enumerate it. So they say, we used to call out to him, إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْبَرُّ الرَّحِيمُ. He was so good to us. Always he was good to us. And he was so merciful with us. Because they knew who Allah is when they had a connection with him, when they spoke to him. And at the end of Surah At-Tur, what does he say? وَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ حِينَ تَقُومُ وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْهُ وَأَدْبَارَ النُّجُومِ. You want to have a connection? Be patient for your Lord's affair. لا تعجل. Don't be hasty. Wait for Allah's affair. And make tasbih, glorify Him when you get up in the night. Just a little portion of the night. And towards the end of the night, when the stars are fading away, when they're leaving, basically at Fajr. Those are the times where there's nobody there. It's like when you go out and you hang out with your friend, and you put your phones on Do Not Disturb so nobody can actually call you, and he just ignores everybody. This is basically a Do Not Disturb Me moment with Allah. When you have those times, that is the time you can make the best dua. You can have the strongest relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will end with just a couple of things. The first is we're usually very disappointed that we make dua and Allah does not answer our dua. In the Sahih Hadith, which I'll skip to right away, the Prophet ﷺ said, when we make dua and Allah does not answer, when we make dua, Allah always answers. He answers in one of three ways. He either gives you what you want, because there's actually good in it, or He gives you part of what you want, or He decreases of a different affliction. You're going to be afflicted by something, He will decrease it, but He won't give you what you want, but He just decreased it. He decreased a certain affliction. Or He doesn't give you what you want, but in the next life, you will have such a reward. When you see it, you will say, Ya Rabbi, إِذَا لِمَا دَعَوْتُ لَأَيِّ دُعَاءٍ مِّن دُعَاءِ. Then why did you answer any of my du'as? You should have just left me, not given me anything, and given me all this reward. I don't want anything anymore. Because Allah, when somebody puts out his hand, this is what the Prophet said, when somebody puts out their hands, Allah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَسْتَحِي أَنْ يَرُدَّ كَفَّتَيْ عَبْدِهِ خَائِبَتَيْن. He is too shy to let you put out your hands and bring them back with nothing to show for it. Allah doesn't do that. We do that, yes. He doesn't do that. Your own parents, your own family will get sick of you if you ask them for too many things. But Allah will never get sick of you. You know, He is more merciful to you than your own mother. You know why sometimes we look at, this is the last thing I'm going to say because I know some of you need to go. This is the last thing. Sayyidina Ibrahim, we always look at Sayyidina Ibrahim and we say, oh, he's so amazing, he was thrown into the fire. It's true, until this day we see people, they lose their children to war, they're detained, they're thrown out of their homes, etc. And we think they must be heroes. They are. But actually, to them, it's not such a difficult thing to do. Because when they are at that level of belief, the affliction they get is much lighter than people on the outset, because they don't have the same perspective. What I'm trying to say is, Sayyidina Ibrahim, he had such a strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with everything. He asked Him and He spoke to him about every single thing. And when he left his wife and his son in the desert, with قال إبراهيم رب اجعل هذا البلد آمنا وجنبني وبني أن نعبد الأصنام رب إنهن أضللن كثيرا من الناس فمن تبعني فإنه مني ومن عصاني فإنك غفور رحيم ربنا إني أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي زرع عند بيتك المحرم ربنا ليقيموا الصلاة فاجعل أفئدة من الناس تهوي إليهم وارزقهم من الثمرات لعلهم يشكرون. He's praying to Allah, I've listened to you. I'm out here in the desert. I'm leaving my family here. Please help everybody to not become a mushrik, to become believers in you, to become monotheists. But at the same time, please, give my family some provision. Help them to not lose their faith because they have not a single drop of water or a single date to eat. This idea of loving Allah, doing all what He wants, but at the same time asking Him and humbling yourself. Because He did all of this, in the end, when He spoke to His people and His people were trying to intimidate Him, He said one word that we miss in the Quran because it's such a short verse, and it's in the middle of everything in Surah As-Saffat. He said, وَكَيْفَ أَخَافُ? How can I be afraid? How can I be afraid? The scholars comment on this verse and they say, and how can, what he meant to say basically in the tafsir. And how can I be afraid of these people when my Lord is Allah? And how can I be afraid of their so-called lords when I have my Lord, which is Allah? And how can I be afraid of anything that will happen to me, even if they do have power over me and they do torture me? How can I be afraid that Allah will make me lose my faith? Not that He'll be tortured and hurt, that Allah will make him lose his faith. How can Allah make me lose my faith when I want Him to help me keep my faith? So even if they do torture me, I will still have my faith. And that is what counts. We need to start with dua. We always say the reason of life, the whole purpose of life is, وَمَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I haven't created the people and the jinn except that they can worship me. It's true. But at the same time, Allah said, قُلْ مَا يَعْبَأُ بِكُمْ رَبِّي لَوْلَا دُعَاؤُكُمْ. My Lord would not care about any of you except if it were for you making dua, calling upon Him and having a relationship with Him. So in essence, yes, you should worship Him. But if you don't worship Him because you love Him, and if you don't do all the things you do, even if you have the Sharia placed, if you're doing all what you need to do Sharia in the correct sense, I'm not talking about the penal codes, just the penal, I'm talking about everything. If you do all of those things and you're doing them because I want gain. See Allah, I did everything, give me my car. If you do that, that's not worship. You need to establish your relationship and your true worship to Allah through dua. May Allah help us practice everything that's been said and heard today. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن تعافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين أقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.